Hi everyone, my name is Ava and I'm a third year PhD student at UCL's Division of Psychiatry, Department of Brain Sciences. I thought I'd talk to you about my experience doing a PhD from applying to first year, second and third year, what I've learned from that and specifically what my project's about. So I'm looking at how memory processing underlies the relationship between childhood trauma and psychosis. My specific model for the thesis is that when you experience a traumatic event, you are less likely able to process the contextual information of the event and more likely to increase processing of the sensory and threatening stimuli. This increases your risk of experiencing intrusions such as PTSD flashbacks, experiencing different fragments of the traumatic memory that you have in the here and now, or experience psychotic experiences such as hallucinations and delusions, or some individuals experience both. So I'm looking at the way we process memories to see why individuals may or may not have these experiences. So in order to look at this, I did 5 different studies. Firstly, doing a systematic review and meta-analysis to review the literature in trauma and psychosis. Secondly, to conduct clinical questionnaires looking at results to see if individuals from the Republic of Korea and the United Kingdom that are recruited online have a relationship between PTSD symptoms and psychotic symptoms. Also, I conducted memory tasks to see individuals' memory performance to see how that was impacted by trauma and psychotic experiences. And I also conducted clinical interviews, which were very lengthy, in order to understand the qualitative relationship between intrusions and psychotic experiences. Lastly, I did a neuroimaging study where I looked at how volume was different in different brain regions when impacted by developmental trauma and how this might impact psychotic experiences. So my PhD was very mixed methods in nature, which I found really insightful and taught me a lot of skills in different areas. Personally, the way I applied for my PhD, which is self-funded, was by emailing various researchers to see if they had similar research interests to me and feasibly were able to take me on. After this, I had preliminary meetings with my supervisor to discuss my previous experiences, as well as feasibility of the data that I would have access to. And then I had an interview in which I had to also do a presentation to describe what exactly I wanted to look at in the PhD, as well as an essay in which I had to write down for a 2-page essay exactly what the memory mechanism may be underlying trauma and psychosis in order to demonstrate my written communication abilities. I definitely had a different experience in my first year than the most common PhD student because I did start my PhD during COVID. This meant that I had to work from home for a year and I was still able to build a social network even though I was new to UCL in general. And this is credit to the various journal clubs, lab meetings, PhD socials that were conducted virtually in order to gain a network of different individuals in the department. Second year, I was able to go in the office and I love the office because it is open plan and a lot of PhD students go in the office, which meant I was able to build a closer social circle of individuals who are having similar experiences to me from first to third year of their PhDs. The office itself is in central London and it's amazing to have all these restaurants and bars so close to you for after work as well as lunchtimes. Lunchtimes usually was spent in the lunchroom in Wing B kitchen. However, occasionally when it is sunny enough, we did venture out to surrounding areas. That is just a nice break to have away from PhD life in the office. So within my PhD, I have had various opportunities and I think one of the key skills I've learned was being able to say yes to those that were helping me develop professionally and personally and saying no to others that didn't quite meet my priorities. So this included going to various conferences where I presented 6 posters and 1 oral presentation, and luckily these conferences were either funded by UCL or additionally by charities such as Guarantor of the Brain. I was able to go to conferences in London, Lisbon, Florence, Toronto and Vienna, and these were really paramount to building my social network and professional network of researchers in my field and improving my skills in being able to communicate to a larger audience and disseminate my findings. There are also various teaching and research assistant roles available within the department. So throughout my PhD and a year before that, I was working as a research assistant for King's and was able to continue this 1 day a week during my PhD. I also took on various research assistant roles within the UCL department, some of these being short in nature such as a month and others being longer depending on the advert. I also took on various teaching opportunities such as being a postgraduate teaching assistant in which I marked all the coursework through the 3 years of my PhD of the individuals who were doing the Masters in mental health. I also was a supervisor and co-supervised 4 master's students projects, was able to be a social rep for one of those years and worked as a module manager, managing the clinical mental health module. Lastly, I was able to go to Yale for 3 months in the UCL-Yale Exchange, which was really an amazing experience in which I've spoken about in more detail in other videos. But basically I undertook a separate study that was not part of my PhD but was relevant to my research interests and was able to go to America for 3 months funded in order to be able to pursue this within the Yale lab. Throughout my experience of my PhD, I've definitely learned so many skills and developed as a person professionally and personally in so many ways. Firstly, I've definitely increased my organisation skills as I've been able to juggle multiple studies at once and seeing them from the beginning of starting them during the ethics, recruiting participants, creating an experiment, all the way till analysing the results and disseminating the findings. I've also really improved my teaching skills and I found this to be really enjoyable, not just teaching master's students, but also students within our lab who are working on the project in which I helped co-lead, the multi-site impact study. Also, doing all these studies means that I've learned and built on previous skills as well as gain new skills such as how to code on R and built on skills relating to using MATLAB and SPM for neuroimaging and using NVivo to analyse qualitative interviews. Lastly, I feel this PhD has taught me not only how to be honest about what I don't know in order to increase my learning in a faster rate, but also how to be more assertive and confident in the things that I am more an expert in order to disseminate these findings that I have found through my research and increase my professional network of researchers. My future long-term interest is to bridge the gap between research and clinical practice, which is why I will be undertaking the clinical psychology doctorate at Oxford when I finish writing up my thesis. Anyway, I hope this gave a bit of an understanding into my specific experience at UCL as a PhD student.